his article. I was sitting there at dinner reading his article. I sent him an email and offered to share some ideas with him. 1 week later, we met, and halfway through my presentation, Mr. Williams said, "When can you start?" And at that time, I joined what was then known as the Valerie Theatre Cultural Board. And we were planning different things for the Valerie, and then this strange disease showed up in our lives, and we were only able to produce 2 shows in 2020 from that particular program. One was a vintage radio players program, and the other was a production of the Christmas Carol in conjunction with a Step Ahead dance studio. Larry Mitchell's wife owns Step Ahead, and we were able to put Mary, Charles Dickens, and ballet together. Now, some people thought it was wacky, but hey, it worked, didn't it? Very good. All right, so as you can see, I welcomed you all, and if our chief technician and chief cook and bottle washer, Chuck, can we have the first slide, please? This is the season of the Valerie Players. We are going to open with a play called Tower Stories. Tower Stories was written by a gentleman by the name of Damon DeMarco. And Damon lived in New York City. He was a writer, and when 9/11 happened, he said, "I have nothing I can offer. I'm a writer. What can I offer people to help?" And so it dawned on him, go talk to people. So what Mr. DeMarco did was he went out and he interviewed people who were either in the building, in the Twin Towers when the actual event happened, first responders, or people who were in the general area. And these are all basically interviews with those people. We're going to do the show as what's called a staged reading, whereby people involved will not have to memorize lines. They will sit on the stage with a copy of the script, and they will be assigned different roles. This is a really neat play because a main character may also, and more than likely, will have a role as a chorus member. So you might be chorus member number 1, and you might also be Annie. And Annie would have her line, and then somewhere in between there would be a line for the chorus member. And chorus member number 1 would be Annie's line. So it's a really kind of chilling, thrilling, that ends up on a high note at the end of the program. Just this afternoon, I was able to secure a gentleman who is a retired New York City Port Authority policeman who was at 9/11 during the incident. He is going to be our guest on Sunday. And he's going to we're going to do a talk back with the audience. So the audience will be able to ask him questions, and we'll have the cast on stage, and they can talk about their feelings about the show. So that's coming up September 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Easy to remember, it's Labor Day weekend. If you really want to see an impactful story or be part of an impactful story about 9/11, please let us know. Auditions for that show will be held August 8th, check that, August 9th and 10th. I used to have 8, I had 8 in my head. August 9th and 10th, we'll be sharing the theater with one of Todd Riddle's productions, and I'll get to Todd in a second. One of Todd Riddle's productions, so the auditions will be held out in the lobby. And basically it'll just be the director's hearing. I'm directing that show, and it'll be me listening to how you read a particular part, and then we'll go from there. So that's our opening.
I got a question.
Can you hold your questions till we're done, please?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Chuck. At Christmas time, we're going to do a show called The Trial of Ebenezer Scrooge. And the trial of Ebenezer Scrooge takes place in a courtroom. And Scrooge decides that he wants to take the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future, and Jacob Marley to court and sue them for breaking and entering, kidnapping, mental cruelty, just a whole myriad of different charges. Scrooge, being the frugal man that he is, does not cheat. Thank you. Does not hire an attorney. He defends himself, and the ghost, past, present, future, and Jacob Marley are defended by a New York, and if you're Jewish, please excuse me, but his name is like Steinberg or Steinstein or something, and he's the lawyer for the ghost and Jacob Marley. It's a very funny show. At one point, Mrs. Cratchit gets up and starts screaming, and she has to be ejected from the courtroom. It's real funny. So that one's on the docket for December, that would be December 10th, 11th, and 12th. And that show, the director is to be determined, and I'm going to get to the director's stuff in a minute. Next one, Chuck. In February, we're going to present Your Good Man, Charlie Brown. That'll be our musical offering for the year. And Your Good Man, Charlie Brown is, of course, based on the characters from Charlie. Miss Schroeder, and who's the other girl? Sally. Yeah. Can be in it. No, we're not doing things. That particular show will be directed by Sue Whitney, who is part of our advisory board. Sue is right now, she spends her summers where it's cooler in New York, and she'll be back here in December. And so she'll be putting together the audition notices and things for that particular show. But if you have any kind of singing talent or humming talent, come on out and audition for that show.
When's that one going?
That one goes up February 18th, 19th, and 20th.
What's the audition?
No, that's the auditions are to be scheduled by Sue. Sue is going to, when she gets back, she's going to schedule the auditions. But that will be on, Valerie Players now has its own Facebook page. So that will be on the Facebook page when I get the final dates. Okay, Chuck? The next show, which is in April 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, is a show called The Psychic. And it's called a murder mystery of sorts. This is not stealing any of your thunder.
Go for it.
A guy by the name of Adam Webster is down in his luck. He's a writer. He writes mysteries. And he can't sell them. Nobody's buying his mystery stories. So he comes up with this brilliant idea. He lives in New York City in an apartment that's in the basement. He comes up with this idea to put a sign in the window of his apartment that says, "Psychic readings, $25. And as soon as the sign goes up, all these whack jobs start showing up. There's a lady who's like having an affair with another gentleman, and the other gentleman shows up first, and then the lady shows up, and then her husband shows up, and then a detective shows up because he's trying to figure out if there was possibly a murder, and there's just a real wacky bend to the story. It's a very funny show. It involves 4 men, 2 women, and it's a real treat for audiences. I believe the Art Center did it a number of years ago, and I did it elsewhere years ago, and so be on the lookout for that. Okay, Chuck. The next one, and please excuse my photographic talent here. The next show, which is in June, is on Golden Pond. Now, many people remember On Golden Pond because it was Henry Fonda's last movie, and it starred Henry Fonda and Kim Hepburn and Jane Fonda, and I believe Dabney Coleman was the dentist, and there's a young boy who is Dabney Coleman's son. Thank you. He heard it. It was Dabney Coleman's son in the movie, and it marries the relationship between the Thayers and this young kid. And this young kid is not used to being around old people, and he kind of battles with the idea of having to be stuck with this old man, and this old man teaches him how to fish, and he gets all excited, and it's a really poignant story, a really poignant love story about Norman and Ethel Thayer and their 44th visit to their summer home on Golden Pond. Okay, Chuck.
When is that?
That one is in June. That'll be. By the way, I will have all these that I'm talking about will be available in handouts when the program is over. The next program is something that I've been involved with in other theaters. It's called a 10-minute play festival. I know some of the folks in this room have written plays. We want them to be PG or at least PG-13. We can't have any R's. Not yet, anyway. But what the 10-minute play festival is we're going to put a call out to folks in the area, and we're going to ask them to submit their plays. The plays can be no longer than 10 minutes. And once we get all the plays gathered together, we'll judge 8 of them. And we'll put on 4 plays in the first part of the show and 4 plays in the second part of the show. There'll be a 15-minute intermission in between. Each night, the audience will vote on what their favorite is. And then at the end of that week, like at the end of that weekend on Sunday night, we'll award a prize for the most popular. And we'll have two sets of judges. We'll have an audience judge, and we'll have a set of 3 judges. Is normally how it works out. But it's a whole lot of fun because you get, one play might be about, and I'll steal some of my own thunder here. One play might be about 4 people who meet in heaven's waiting room and have to pass the muster in order to get into heaven. And one guy's kind of a PIA, if you know what I mean, and they won't let him in. But that is kind of what we're looking for. And the shows will, like I say, will run no more than 10 minutes. And you think, well, how can a 10-minute play festival be exciting? You'll be amazed what can come through in a 10-minute play. I saw one where the guy was a detective, and he was a part-time mystery writer, and he decided that it was called Junk in the Trunk. And what he decided to do was he told his wife to get in the trunk, and then he got in there with her, and he closed the trunk. And it all takes place with the 2 of them in the trunk. And she is not really pleased to be in the trunk and can't figure out what they're doing in there. And he's basically set it up with his neighbor to come over and release them at a specific time. And it turns out, I'm not stealing any thunder because this show was done down in Fort Myers. It turns out he wanted to see what the reaction would be to somebody who was locked in a trunk because he was going to write a story about that. And his neighbor shows up late, and by this time it was sweating, and it was really fun. And it was just 10 minutes long. It was really, really well done. So that's the 10-minute play festival. That will be in September of next year. Did I have dates on that? I thought I do. it'll be like the second week in September. And what we're planning on doing is at that particular time, we'll announce the 2022-2023 season. So that will lead us right into the next season for the Valerie Players. Okay, Chuck? Okay, as I said, we're going to need directors. We're going to need directors for Psychic. We're going to need directors for On Golden Pond. And we're going to need directors for the Trial of Ebenezer Scrooge. Go ahead, Chuck. Up here on the front of the stage, I have directors' application forms. So if any of these shows strike you as something you'd like to try, or you'd like to try your hand at directing, you're saying, in my case, I don't get cast as the young love interest anymore, which is why I started writing shows and doing this kind of stuff. But anyway, we have directors' application forms up here. You can take one with you if you have an access to email it to me. I'll give you my email address, or you can just drop it off at the Valerie. I work here part-time. I am Professor Popcorn out in the front, so I work here whenever they need an extra body. I'm out front selling popcorn and candy. So it's a very simple request for information for being a director. Okay, Chuck. Now, where else can I help out with the Valerie Players? This is where most shows, people look, they sit out in the audience and they go, oh, how did he memorize all those lines? That's the question am I right? This is the question that most people ask, how do you know all those lines? How do you remember all those lines? Well, being on stage and memorizing the lines is just a small part of any production, because behind the line memorizing are stage managers, people who get props, people who supply costumes, people who do light and sound, people who can build sets, and an advisory board. So you're available for any of these positions, and we'd love to have you work with us. I've put up here a volunteer sign-up sheet. So basically all I'm asking you for is your name, your email address, your social security number, your bank account number. Oh, no, that's my other job. But the shows that we're doing this year, with the exception of the Trial of Ebenezer Scrooge, are what I call out-of-the-closet costumes. You can go to your own closet and say, oh, I'm going to wear this, and that'll be pretty much the costuming. The Scrooge show will be costumed by Marcia Beasley. Marcia is a historian in Floral City, and she manages the Floral City Historical Museum down there. And she has got the greatest collection of Victorian costumes you would ever see. We used them last year for Christmas Carol. And she's just this wonderful lady. We meet up with her. She measures you all up and says, I don't like that jacket. Here, try this one. And she'll find a jacket that works or a dress that works. And she finds just what is needed, and then she'll go a step further and say, well, we should alter it a little. She'll alter it for us. Just a marvelous lady. So she's an excellent costumer. Mr. Chuck back there is our light and sound. Oh my God, who the heck is that?
You pointed at me. I thought that meant go.
That's Mrs. Flagg. That's from a show I did called thank you. That's from a show I did is called Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, the parody of the horror. And that was one of the horrors. Baby Jane was played by a guy who was like 6'3", and you can imagine with a blonde wig. It was just too funny, and that was my headshot from that show. You can skip through Mrs. Flag again, Chuck, and then Anyway, I promised to get people down here. And at this point, I want to introduce Linda Vega, who is on our advisory board, and she is our financial person. So Linda, take it away.
Hello, I'm Linda Vega. My involvement with the Valerie started, I'm on City Council for the City of Inverness, and I was the liaison to the Cultural Advisory Committee, which they didn't have anybody to advise. There was no shows going on since Valerie opened about 5 years ago. And then Patrick came on the board, and I thought, well, what do we need an advisory board for if we can find more people like him? And he brought all of you. So what is wonderful for the Valerie is you all giving your time and your efforts to put these shows on and get the community involved and get people in here. That's what we need. So my expertise is not to be on stage. You've never seen me up there. Never. Yeah, I'll be in the audience all the time, but the city has a grant program right now. This will get us started. Every show will have a budget, whatever it costs to purchase the script, to get some costumes, to get some backdrops, whatever else you buy for a play. And you submit this budget, and then the city will reimburse you for everything you spent. But one step further, I've got them to, for the Valerie Players, we are able to, we don't have to put up any money out front. The city will front us what we need, and then they'll pay themselves back with the grant. So we're really off to a good start to get things going, because they feel we'll be the roots of something happening in the Valerie Theatre, and they want that to happen. What else do you think? No? Yeah, I think it's going to go, it's fantastic. The more people you can bring, the more enthusiasm. Not just people like Patrick says, on stage, he has his list. We'll need volunteers to run the concession stand. We have different fundraiser ideas. That's kind of my thing. I can do money in my head. And I know a lot of people in the community, and I'm a business person here, so I can do that outreach too. And I'll need your support and help to help get that done for all of us. Okay.
And further, this afternoon, I met with the Liz Fernley, who is the person that is basically, her department is now the department that handles the Valerie Theatre. What we put together for 2001, 2022 is a whole schedule of programs. There are the Valerie Players programs. There are murder mysteries, very hilarious murder mysteries, and if you really want to have a good time, come August 20th, come to see The Curse of the Hopeless Diamond, directed by Todd Riddle. Todd, would you stand please and let people know? Todd heads up Two Pence Productions, and he has a whole schedule of shows throughout this year and next year. In addition, there is a dance studio that's going to put on dance programs throughout this year and next year. And we're even talking about doing, we talked this afternoon about doing some kind of like an Irish night on, right around St. Patrick's Day, and having them do Irish dancing, and then on stage have, some old guy who's telling stories about when he was over in Ireland and how wonderful it was and how it was grand. Anyway, so we're working on putting that kind of a show together. They're going to do a portion of the Nutcracker come Christmas following Ebenezer Scrooge. So that will be coming up. We're trying to figure out now how to put some kind of set up there. This, by the way, is something you never see in a regular theater. It's a tile floor on the stage. Yeah. You can't take a drill and go and put in a set. So I'm working on doing a study on how to build canvas sets that you anchor with sandbags and big L brackets. And so we'll hopefully figure that all out. We also are going to be working with other entertainers. Barry Denham is a wonderful musician and does some phenomenal work with 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s love songs. If you want to catch them, go to the Cattle Dog on Friday from 11 to 1. 11 to 1. Barry plays there every Friday, and he and Tom, what's Tom's last name? Tom Gray. They play there every Friday, and they do just a phenomenal job. Cattle Dog's down here, right here in town.
AM or PM?
AM, not PM.
Dinner's free, but lunch is not.
That's right. Dinner's free. Lunch is not. Anyway, so that's what's going on. I know that Valerie is still looking for anybody like David and Gail here. David and Gail help out during movie times. Tomorrow there's 105 kids that are going to be in here watching a movie called Flushed Away. I'll be here. I'm taking several hits of Valium before I can get. David already said that he's starting not to feel well, so I don't know where that's going. He's looking forward to a root canal. Anyway, so there's 105 kids from the Boys and Girls Club are coming. Last week they had 150 something, right? Yeah, it was really wild. And Kevin, who he manages the theater for the Valerie. He's added an extra 10 because he figures 10 more people are going to come in besides the 105. So there are movies here. They have classic movies. They're doing next weekend. They're doing that movie 1917, which is about World War I. Really, really good movie. But that's it for the Valerie Players. I'm open to any questions you might have. Just don't throw tomatoes. Yes,
I got 3
Ms.
questions.
Pam.
I got 3 questions.
Yes.
I think you can answer them. Well, the first one. What's the age group on your first show, the Tower Story?
Tower Stories can be anywhere from people in their 20s to people in their 60s.
My second question was...
Or older.
Oh, then how does 10-minute...
I'm sorry.
How do the 10-minute plays get cast? Do they have their own audition, or does the director?
There'll probably be a set of like 4 directors. Okay, those 4 directors will cast their shows.
Okay, so they will direct show written by someone else.
By someone else,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
And they'll hold their own audition.
Exactly.
And the third question is, can they do dinner theater in here?
Not yet. What we're working on is, because the sidebar is ready to open. Well, I got it today. It's like September or the end of August. The sidebar has got restaurant capabilities now, or will in the next month or so. So I spoke to them tonight, and we're talking about doing like dinner and a play, or dinner and a dance, or we're going to hook up and we're going to do something where you might get like 15% off your dinner if you're coming to the theater, and you'd have to like show your ticket, or we'll work it out. But that's kind of a great promotion. We did it last year with Christmas Carol. We went around to businesses right here in the square, and we solicited an advertisement, and it was just a little $10 business card advertisement, and we asked them, could you put on your menu a Dixonian menu item? And like pine cones, they came up with a Tiny Tim ice cream cone. And a number of different businesses came up with different ideas for that particular show, and it was successful. Yes, Pam.
So, I'm sorry, I'm asking all these questions.
No, that's why we're
So
here.
these chairs are removable.
Yes, they are.
correct? And you could put round tables
You could.
in here and
You
then
could.
have it catered or something.
You could, but
Okay. In the future.
Eric Williams, like myself as a show producer, and probably guys who own restaurants, we want what's known as BIS, butts in seats. So if you take the seats out, you kind of you shrink your audience
your price of
capacity.
your ticket goes up. Plus, not only that, you could have the different restaurants down the main street sponsor it or cater it. So they would get.
I think Pam says she wants the dinner theater department. Pam wants to head up the dinner theater department.
That'll be a different department. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Is there room in here is there a costume room for it?
Yes. If you've never been here, and what we can do is after we're wrapped up and everybody here is signed up, you remember you have to lock the doors. You know, and when I give you the signal, you lock the door.
I'm the owner of a store across the street.
Okay.
Richard lives on the square.
Okay.
Going out of business August 31st, we're closing our doors.
Right.
We've been forced out because the building was sold to a corporation.
Okay.
And they doubled our rent. I have an extremely amount of ladies' costume things that would be lovely here if someone could come and give us a price for them, and I mean, we would give you a great price for this place, because I want to be part of this.
Right.
And they would get out of our building.
Get out of here.
We
Yeah.
have lots of sparkly
Okay.
things, lots of gowns, lots of things like that.
Okay.
Okay, and then I'll get this.
Yeah. Anybody who's not been here, before we leave, I'll be happy to conduct a little tour of. This place was built in 1927, and it was primarily done as a movie theater. And in 2014, they tore the entire thing down, with the exception of that wall, that was it. No, and the back wall. I have a picture in my gallery, and it was the one day we came down here. A picture in my gallery that is this place, and it was just that wall, and the back wall, and the rest was a big hole. And in 2015, they reopened the Valerie Theatre, and the appointments in here are amazing. I mean, they have, there's 7 bathrooms in here, so you never have to worry about standing in line. There's 2 beautiful dressing rooms backstage. There's a little mini kitchen. There's, what else is there, Kenny? What else is back there? Oh yeah, there's a balcony. There's a balcony upstairs that not only are there a row of maybe 20 seats up there, but it can accommodate if you want to rent the theater and have, you know, your 40th class reunion. There's tables up there with, you know, high chairs and such, and a bar. Yes, I was getting to the bar. Paul reminds me that there's a bar. I'm sorry, man. I thought you were one of those guys in the. Oh no. It's sweet. Okay. And it's very comfortable upstairs. A little bit of history. When the theater first opened, African Americans weren't allowed down here. They all had to sit in the balcony. And they had a separate entrance so that they would not mix with the people inside, the white folks. Thank you. And there's a picture somewhere, it might be in Kevin's office, where you can see this African American entrance on one side and the main box office out front. And all of that's changed. Yes, Pam's got another question. Yes, Pam.
No, I don't have a question. I just wanted to share with you. I grew up in Inverness.
Okay.
I used to come to this theater when I was 8, 9, 10. And yes, there was a stairway that led up to the balcony, and that's where they were. And we wouldn't come here to watch movies. We just came here to hang out. And Miss Thomas used to walk up and down the aisles, and if your feet were on the chair, she would get off the chair. She was rude and mean. But, you know, it's a lot of history here in this theater. And, you know, I came all the way until I graduated and then afterwards.
We now have a cattle prod so that people put their feet on the chair. Yes, way in the back.
I was echoing what she had said because I didn't know what the Valerie was, and when they reopened, my mom started telling me all the stories about how when they were in high school, her friend's dad was the manager and ran the movies, and when the first Chainsaw Massacre movie came out, they all got a chainsaw and went up in the balcony, and like halfway through the movie did the chainsaw, and they had like half of the audience to get it out the back.
Another interesting historical fact about the Valerie. Many of you may or may not know that Elvis Presley filmed a movie around here, a movie called Follow That Dream. And it was basically Elvis who ended up living on a little island, and I think it was over near Crystal River somewhere where they actually filmed it. Pardon? Thank you. Yankee Town. Thank you. I'm a transplant. I'm still trying to figure out where Lecanto is. But what they used to do was, once they were done filming for the day, Elvis and the crew would come to the Valerie, and they would run what was known as the dailies. Then it's now called the rushes, and they would run what they filmed that day to see if it actually worked. So he used to hang out in this theater, and then I just learned something about he used to have he and the crew used to play football in the on the courthouse grounds. And they would have, these little pickup football games, and he'd invite anybody who was around. Come on, play football with us. Yeah.
And he has a girlfriend.
And he did.
Well, he fell in love with a young lady here that would parents would give permission.
Williams.
Yeah. And then they finally gave permission, but she got caught at his house alone. The sheriff had to go down and.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was a good story.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I have a black and white photo of Elvis.
Yes. 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 Well, that'll be part of the tour. Any other questions about the Valerie Players tonight?
If you already have our information, do you think they'll have it?
No. You have a dispensation. You're blessed. You're blessed. We did a show here a couple weeks ago called The Night of January 16th. And Cammie was in it, and Jackie directed it, and her husband Bill was the judge, and I was, Lenny was in it, and I was the Irish cop, and Lori was in it, and Tom was in it, and anywho, we had some sign-up sheets at that time for the players, and so if you signed up already, you don't need to do it again. Once you're in, you're in. Okay, that's all. No, that's a different play. That's Urinetown. I've been in that twice. Okay, if there's no other questions, right here is the sign-up sheets for any, and I've asked, put down what you're interested in. Over here is the director's applications. And as promised, these are the breakdowns of the shows, and on there are the audition dates, and where we have a director, I've noticed it, and the only thing that's not on here is the 10-minute play festival because we haven't picked people yet. Yes, sir.
What's your email address?
It is my last name, which is ERHARDT, and then my first name, Patrick, all one word, at yahoo.com. I will put it, if you have Facebook, I will put it on our Facebook page.
You got an email from you inviting us.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
What is the Facebook group?
Pardon?
Valerie, like.
The Facebook group is Valerie Players.
It's not us yet. It's not us.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I've already talked
Yeah, we got like 15 or 18 followers.
There's no the.
No, there's no the. It's just Valerie Players.
I like
And then we have an email address. Ooh, God, are we getting there? Our email address for the Valerie Players is Valerie Players, one word, 5 @gmail.
It's not on any of those information sheets?
No, not yet, because I was still in the process of putting all of this together. So it's Valerie Players 5 @gmail.com.
Thank you for doing it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
You know what BTP can stand for also?
Say what?
You know what BTP can stand for also?
No.
Very talented people.
Oh, cool. It's
Not
Tom.
that long ago when I met.
Tom sent me one today. Tom sent me one today with Valerie. What was it? Valerie Inverness Players VIP. Maybe we'll get buttons. All right. Anybody who wants to hang around after you all sign up, Jill, lock the door. Anybody who wants to hang around, and after we take care of our business, please feel free. I will take you on a guided tour of the Valerie Players. We can skip the bathrooms, or if you want to see one, there's black toilets in there. I mean, it's really cool. Oh yeah, they're very nice. Some kid went in there a couple weeks ago and said, "Mom, the toilets are black." And don't let this get out. Don't let anybody, this is a secret, don't let this get out of here. But they built a theater with 17 bathrooms. And we had a problem one night when I was working here, and no one bought a plunger. There wasn't a plunger in the entire place. So it's been rectified. It's been rectified. Anyway, that's all she wrote. Thank you very much for showing up, and we got 15 minutes for
We have a little bit
sign
more
up.
work to figure out on the Facebook page. Chuck put the link to it, we went on there, we gotta figure, we're trying to log in and find it, but we're not finding it. So I'm not sure where it's at. We clicked on the one that you put out there, Chuck, but we'll get it figured out for the Facebook page and everything. If you guys do, or have not signed up with anything, there's the sign up sheets right there, that's perfect. That way we can at least email you as well.
Hold on.